The morning sky above Rila Prime burned orange and red as another enemy ship broke through the orbital defenses. Ambassador Kira pressed her face against the reinforced window of the government building, watching pieces of metal rain down like deadly stars. The sight made her stomach turn. 3 weeks ago, this same sky had been clear blue, filled with nothing but peaceful transport ships and the occasional patrol vessel. Now everything was different. The Vorthon Empire had come without warning, without demands, without even a declaration of war. Their massive black ships had simply appeared at the edge of Rillan space and begun destroying everything in their path. "Ambassador, we need you in the communications room," said Tom, her human assistant. His face was pale, and she could see fear in his eyes. Tom had been working on Rila Prime for 2 years as part of a cultural exchange program. He was supposed to go home next month. Now none of them knew if there would be a home to go to. Kira followed Tom through the corridors of the government complex. Emergency lights flashed red along the walls, and she could hear the distant sound of explosions. The Vorthon ground forces had landed on the northern continent yesterday. Reports coming in were not good. The communications room buzzed with activity. Dozens of Rillan technicians worked at their stations, sending messages across the galaxy and coordinating what remained of their fleet. Director Vale stood at the center of it all, his usually neat appearance now disheveled from 3 days without proper sleep. "How bad is it?" Kira asked. Vale turned to her with tired eyes. "We have lost contact with 7 outer colonies. The defense fleet at Rila Station was completely destroyed this morning. Our remaining ships are falling back to protect the core worlds, but we cannot hold them for long." Kira felt her heart sink. The Rillan Confederation had enjoyed peace for over 200 years. Their military was small, designed more for patrol duties and disaster relief than actual warfare. They had always believed that their neutral stance and peaceful nature would protect them from conflicts like this. What about the other species? Have any of them responded to our requests for help? Vale nodded toward one of the communication stations. "The Altarians have promised to send medical supplies. The Centauri Union is preparing refugee ships to evacuate civilians from the border worlds. The Helix Collective has offered to provide intelligence about Vorthon fleet movements." "That is something, at least," Kira said, though she knew it would not be enough. Medical supplies and refugee ships were important, but they needed military assistance. They needed ships and weapons and soldiers willing to fight. "There is more," Vale continued. "The Galactic Council has condemned the Vorthon attack and imposed economic sanctions. Several major species have cut off trade relations with the Empire." Kira almost laughed, but there was no humor in the situation. Economic sanctions would take months or years to have any effect. The Vorthon Empire could finish conquering the Rillan Confederation in a matter of weeks at their current pace. Explosion shook the building, causing dust to fall from the ceiling. The lights flickered for a moment before the backup power systems kicked in. Through the window, Kira could see smoke rising from somewhere in the city. "We need to send another broadcast," she said, "a stronger message. Make it clear how desperate our situation is." Vale nodded and gestured to one of the technicians. Within minutes, they had prepared a new transmission. Kira stood before the recording device, trying to compose herself. She knew that billions of beings across the galaxy would see this message. She had to make them understand. "People of the galaxy," she began, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. "I am Ambassador Kira of the Rillan Confederation. As I speak to you now, our worlds are under attack by the Vorthon Empire. They have destroyed our outer colonies and are advancing toward our core systems. Our people are dying." She paused as another explosion echoed in the distance. "We have always been a peaceful civilization. We have never sought conflict with any species. We have contributed to galactic trade, science, and culture for centuries. We have helped others in times of need. Now we are the ones who need help." The Yao. Words came from her heart now, not from any prepared speech. "We are not asking for your soldiers to die for our cause. We are asking for whatever assistance you can provide. Ships, weapons, supplies, anything that might help us survive this assault. The Vorthon Empire seeks to destroy everything we have built, everything we are. Please, If you have ever believed in justice, in protecting the innocent, help us now. The transmission ended and Kira felt drained. She had put everything into those words, all her hope and desperation. Now they could only wait and see if anyone would answer. Over the next several hours, responses began to arrive. Most were similar to what they had already received. The Viridian Republic would send food supplies. The Aquatic Worlds offered to take Reelan refugees. The Iron Brotherhood promised to share intelligence about Vorthon tactics. Then a message arrived that caught everyone's attention. It came from human space, from a planet called Earth. The transmission was brief and formal, lacking the diplomatic language that usually filled such communications. Message received and understood. Fleet en route. Estimated arrival in 72 hours. That was all. No details about the size of the fleet or what kind of assistance they would provide. No formal declarations or political statements. Just a simple acknowledgement and a promise. Tom, who had been helping coordinate the incoming messages, looked puzzled. That does not sound like the diplomatic corps, he said. Human government messages are usually much longer and more detailed. Vale studied the transmission data. It came from Earth directly, but the routing suggests military channels. Perhaps they are sending a small patrol fleet to help with evacuations. Kira felt a spark of hope. Humans were known to be capable fighters, though their military was not, large compared to the major galactic powers. Even a small human fleet might be able to buy them some time, or at least help evacuate civilians from the most threatened worlds. How many ships do you think they might send? She asked Tom. Tom considered the question. Humans have perhaps 50 major warships spread across all their territories. If they can spare some from patrol duties, maybe 8 or 10 ships. It would be a significant commitment for them. 8 or 10 ships would not be enough to stop the Vorthon assault, but it was more than anyone else had offered. For the first time in days, Kira allowed herself to feel a small measure of hope. Outside the window, the sky continued to burn as enemy ships pressed their attack. But somewhere in the darkness of space, help was coming. Maybe not enough help, but it was something. The humans were coming. General Marcus Thane stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Vorthon Dreadnought Destroyer's Edge, watching the tactical display with satisfaction. Red icons representing his fleet surrounded the blue dots of Rillan worlds like predators circling, wounded prey. The conquest was proceeding exactly as planned. Status report, he commanded, his deep voice carrying the authority of someone who had crushed dozens of civilizations. The 4th Outer Colony has surrendered, General, reported Captain Vex, his tactical officer. Minimal resistance. Their defense platforms were destroyed within 6 hours. Thane nodded. The Rillans fought bravely enough, but they were simply outmatched. Their small patrol ships and outdated weapons were no match for Vorthon military might. It was almost disappointing how easy this campaign had become. What news from the core worlds? Long-range sensors show they are pulling back, their remaining fleet to defend Rilla Prime and the industrial centers. Approximately 200 ships, mostly light cruisers and frigates. 200 ships. Thane commanded over 1,500 vessels in this campaign alone, with reinforcements available if needed. The Rillan fleet would last perhaps a day against his full force. Any response from the galactic community? Captain Vex consulted his datapad. The usual. Economic sanctions, diplomatic protests, offers to evacuate civilians. Nothing that will affect our operations. A few species have sent small aid packages, but no military assistance of note. This was always how it went. The galaxy was full of civilizations that talked about justice and protecting the innocent. But when it came time to act, they found excuses. They were too far away, too busy with their own problems, too afraid of Vorthon retaliation. There is one item of interest, General, Vex continued. Our intelligence network picked up a transmission from human space. They appear to have responded to the Rillan request for assistance. Thane turned from the tactical display. Humans? The species from those small worlds near the rim? Yes, General. They sent a message saying they were dispatching a fleet. For a moment, Thane felt a flicker of concern. Then he remembered what he knew about humans. They were a young species, barely 3 centuries into space travel. Their territory consisted of perhaps 30 systems, mostly small colonies and research stations. Their military was tiny compared to the major galactic powers. How many ships are they sending? Unknown, General.